Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the UU Church of Berkeley and our annual Flower Ceremony Sunday, this year in virtual form. My name is Reverend Kristen Grassel-Schmidt, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. We usually have in-person worship on Sundays at 11 a.m., but during these days when we have to shelter in place, we worship on Facebook Live and YouTube. This is a welcoming congregation, and we are always working on how to welcome and care for one another better. Before we really get started, please take a minute to prepare yourself and your space for our time together. Go grab a candle and a way to light it so you can join in the chalice lighting at home. Also, we hope you'll participate in the service by typing in the comments section when we invite you to do so. We continue to work with staff and volunteers to improve the technical aspects of our virtual services. If you experience any technological difficulties during the live stream of this service, please message the UUCB page and one of us will do our very best to help you. Our wonderful team of staff and lay leaders are doing the best we can to create space for our congregation to connect deeply with the sacred and with one another. Now, please join in singing our opening song, For Flowers That Bloom About Our Feet.
Now, whether you have your candle ready or you're lighting the inner chalice of your heart, let us light our chalice together. I invite you to share in the comments where you are by writing, I carry the flame in whatever town or city you are joining us from. Now, please join me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Seeing as this is our flower ceremony Sunday, I thought today I would tell you the story of the very first flower ceremony. The story of the first flower ceremony, or flower communion, begins about 80 years ago in Czechoslovakia, a land in Eastern Europe. Now, this was a part of the world that was very divided at that time. Czechoslovakia was a new country, and the people in it and all around it had been fighting one another for many years. As you might imagine, after so many years of war, the people didn't trust each other very much. So, a Unitarian pastor named Norbert Čapek created what he called the Flower Communion as a way to try to bring the people of his church together across their many differences. When people came to church on Flower Communion Sunday, they brought a flower from home, or they would pick one from the roadside on their walk to church. The flowers were like each of them. Each was beautiful, each was from a different part of the countryside, and each was unique. When they got to church, the people would all put their flowers into one vase. The flowers represented each person there, and the vase represented the church because it gathered everyone together in one community. And he talked to his people about the way church is meant to bring us together, but also help us to see ourselves and one another in new ways. After all, single flowers look different than when they lend some of their beauty to their neighbors. Although each of us is beautiful and important on our own, when we come together, we become a big, beautiful bouquet. When the people left the church, each person would take a different flower from the one they had brought with them. And this was to remind them of the beauty of others, even if they are different, and what those others contribute to the church and wider community. And that's the story of how Flower Communion began, and what we celebrate when we join in this ceremony together each year at the UU Church of Berkeley. Please join me for a moment of silence before we join in prayer together. This is a prayer for parenting in a pandemic. A prayer for the dirty laundry and piled up dishes. A prayer for dance parties and cuddle puddles, for long walks and improvised science experiments. For screen time as education and distraction. This is a prayer for working parents Zooming another meeting with a little face joining in. For new parents waiting for new life without support. For the single parents doing this all alone. For parents who are on the front lines and essential workers who worry every day about being away from home, about bringing something home, about holding it all together as you hold the world together. This is a prayer for the more than 200 meals you've made, for the 100 millionth time you've heard, "Can I have a snack?" For the 5 minutes of alone time you can squeak out every day. For the 2, 4, 6, or 60 gray hairs you've acquired so far. This is a prayer for the meltdowns, the missed naps, the many, many tears, the distance learning homework no one wants to do but still somehow feel the need to fight about. This is a prayer for wondering if they will ever fall asleep, for wondering if they will ever get up. A prayer for pretending that you're enjoying yourself while you all play their favorite game. This is a prayer for all of the missed milestones, for holding your child as they cry over missing their friends, missing their prom, missing their graduation. For your own tears because you can't fix this problem. This is for all the milestones still marked, the public birthday party parades and Zoom proms hosted by celebrities, the family celebrations of learning to walk and the first lost tooth. The private, personal celebrations of the many ways you've watched your children grow and mature, right close up. This prayer is for all the new formed family bands and midday pajama-clad dance parties, for all the backyard bathing, for the new trampolines, new bikes, new play structures, a prayer for inside obstacle courses and learning to make new crafts, for all the pets that have joined new families. This is a prayer for bonding and breaking, for togetherness and for too much togetherness. This is a prayer for love, for anger, for grief, for time out of time. This is a prayer for parenting in a pandemic. This is also a prayer that lifts up the joys and concerns of our gathered community. If you have a joy to share this morning, I invite you to type it into the comments now. As a community, we rejoice together with everyone who shared a joy and with all who hold joys within their hearts. If you have a sorrow or a concern to share with this gathered community, I now invite you to type them into the comments. We hold tenderly all those who have shared sorrows and concerns this morning, and all those who have sorrows and concerns too deep to share. In the name of all that we find holy, for love's sake, we pray. Amen.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will I know open. This rose will I know my fear I know my fear I know my soul I know my soul I know this soul I know this wings I know this rose I know this rose I know my fears I know my fear I know my soul I know its wings I know this rose I know this wings I know this rose I know this rose I know my fears I know my fear I know my soul I know its wings I know this rose I know this rose I know this rose will open.
I'll never forget the feeling the first time it rained after we moved here to California. It had been so dry, so brown and hazy for such a long time. But just a day or so after it rained, people's moods seemed lighter. Everything began to turn green as if by magic, and the air was clear again. This is a lot like how it feels on the East Coast when spring comes into bloom after a long, cold, gray winter. When I lived in Boston, the Common would fill with people eating picnic lunches and sunbathing on the first even marginally warm day of the year. But it really felt like spring that first day that the flowers bloomed. Sometimes I'd notice the smell even before I saw them. I think the thing that makes flowers so beloved isn't just their beauty and their sweet smell, but that we know they won't last forever. Somehow the knowledge that our favorite bush or tree or patch of wildflowers will only be in bloom for a season makes them even more precious. If the natural world has anything to teach us about life, it is that change is the only constant. We get to enjoy the beauty and gifts of a season, a flowering plant, and other people, some for a lifetime and others just for a little bit. This is why Dr. Chapek, the founder of the flower ceremony we celebrate each year, chose flowers as the symbols for his new ritual. I'd like to share part of a letter written on the occasion of the first flower ceremony at First Church in Brooklyn. It took place 26 years after the first flower ceremony in Czechoslovakia. The letter was written to the minister at First Church in Brooklyn by Karel Haspel, who served at the Prague Church after Čapek was killed for resisting the Nazis. Here's what Haspel wrote. You do not know how happy we all are to learn that you plan to have a flower communion service on June 6th, for on that day we also shall hold our service, and it will be the 26th anniversary of the first flower communion service held here in Prague by Dr. Čapek. Dr. Čapek realized the need for symbolism in religion, but felt keenly a need for new symbols. Flowers, the gift of God. There has never been war or oppression made with flowers. We give them to the bride and to our dead. We give them whenever we wish to express love and sympathy. We shall be thinking of you. So, On this, our unusual virtual flower ceremony Sunday, may we be thinking too. May we think of all those who have celebrated this tender ritual around the world over the last 97 years. May we think about that which unites and binds us here in 2020 with all of them. May we remember the many hardships they faced, the dangers they survived, the way their faith and care for one another helped them weather so many storms. May we be reminded with joy and reverence of the holy preciousness of each and every person who chooses to join our community. And may we reflect deeply on what it means to affirm the preciousness of other people, to abide together in community, different in mind and theology, but united in love and the spirit of truth. For unlike a gym where access must be bought, unlike a social club where membership may be limited according to prejudice, unlike a store where we may select which products we wish to consume, our church is a community where payment is not required and gifts are freely given and received. As Chapek himself wrote, "When you leave this meeting in peace and without rush, each of you take a blossom out of the bunch of flowers without choosing, as a sign that you do not pick who you want to accept as a brother and sister." May we receive gratefully the gifts that others offer, and may we each offer our gifts up for the good of all. For it is in giving and receiving that the world of peace and justice, the world for which Chapek and so many others have given up their lives, will come into bloom. Enter into the communion of flowers with joyful hearts. Enter with reverent thoughts. It has taken long months beneath cold ground for these flowers to prepare their blooming. It has taken each of us long times of growth through sorrow and joy to prepare for our living now. The blooming season is short. The flowers stay only a brief time. We are travelers upon the earth, travelers through all too brief lifetimes. Therefore, let our moments be bountiful. Let us rejoice in our unique colors, aromas, and sounds. Let us celebrate together in love, that as we shelter in place apart, we carry with us the memory of golden hours together among the flowers.
These days of sheltering in place continue to be challenging for all of us in different ways. We hope you have felt the support and care of this community. And if you're joining us for the first time today, we hope you'll soon come to know what a caring community this is. We hope that those experiencing financial strain right now will reach out to the ministers who can provide assistance from the minister's discretionary fund. But for those of us who are financially able, UUCB needs your gifts now more than ever. Our board and staff are exploring many options to help maintain funding for the ministries and programs we love. But it is going to take all of us digging deep in whatever way we can to support this congregation through this epidemic. We hope you will consider making an extra pledge payment or one-time gift before the church year ends in June. We also hope you will continue to practice generosity with our Good Neighbor organizations. This month, we're sharing half of our offerings with Crisis Support Services of Alameda County. Crisis Support provides a welcoming and safe environment for those in crisis. Their approach is rooted in the belief that healing is possible through collaboration with clients at every stage of service. Whether you can make an offering of $1, $1,000, or somewhere in between, all offerings are given and received with gratitude. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as our offertory begins. Thank you.
No more flowers. No more flowers. Let's together. On the door, a crown of roses. Scattered bouquets of flowers. April will bloom again. In the fragrant air. Cherry blossoms, cover all with color and love. Lilies, lilac blended, violet sweetly scented. Lilies, roses, lilac, balmy April blooms again. To welcome love unchanging, scatter bouquets of roses, of violets and lilac, flowers of every hue. Violets and lilac, flowers of every hue.
Now, please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate this offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create a loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It has been good to be together in worship today, even in this virtual format. Before we close our service, I have a few important announcements. Please refer to our website or to the week ahead in your email for information on how to join our virtual church services and meetings. Today, after worship, we invite you to switch over to Zoom for a time to connect face-to-face during our virtual coffee hour. You can find the link to join in Fridays the week ahead, as well as in the Facebook Live feed. We hope all members of the church will participate in our May congregational meeting next Sunday, May 17th, right after worship. Thanks to some very talented tech volunteers in our congregation, we will meet together virtually on Zoom. The most important piece of business is a review of our budget that our Board of Trustees has approved for the coming fiscal year, a copy of which has been mailed to you, either email or snail mail. We will have the opportunity to ask questions of our Executive Director, Tess Oriva, and our Treasurer, Larry Nagel. See you all next week. Lastly, typically, a board member provides a listening presence in the atrium on Sundays, at least once a month. Throughout the month of May, Elaine Miller has volunteered to listen to your concerns and suggestions. You can contact Elaine by phone or email. Now, please join us in singing our closing song.
As far as our love flows, as far as our hope grows, as far as our yearning goes, we are no farther one from another. Our worship has ended, and now our service begins.
Thank you.